All right, coming up on today's edition of the Art Business Morning Show, the latest evolution in the thinking at Art Storefronts. Specifically, what would Nick and I do if we were in your office right now and your new business partners? We're running your business from start to scratch. That's the ballgame. That's the ballgame. Normally I have the intro music. Normally I have the intro music. I don't have it today, so we just jump in. Okay. So
All right.
one of the things that I like about this show, okay, is it is always representative of the evolution of our thinking, right? And I think one of the things that we aspire to do as a business at Art Storefronts is we want to be the single solitary best place in the world to grow an art or photography business. That's it. That's essentially in a macro
Yes.
what we're hacking at, and what we show up to work every day. And we're getting better and getting better.
That's exactly right. Every day, that is all we're working on every day.
And what I like about the show and how we approach things here, that doesn't mean we have 100% of it figured out. That doesn't mean we'll ever have 100% of it figured out. All we're saying is we are hacking at this every single solitary day and making incremental improvements and incremental improvements and incremental improvements. So one of the things that we are going to go over today is the latest evolution in our thinking. And we're going to go into details. We're going to get tactical on it. It's going to be interesting. You guys can leave comments. We'll respond to the comments. But really big picture, the analogy I like to give is this iteration represents like the first formal going from a general practitioner to specialists, to specialist doctors. Before Art Storefronts was a general practitioner. Now that's not entirely true because we did have a bunch of different material and this, that, and the others for where you were on your journey. But now we're going from general practitioner to OBGYN to ear, nose, and throat to dentist to gastroenterologist and everything else, right? Meaning when you come in with your ailment, okay, your ailment is not the same where you can just go to a catch-all doctor for everything, right? Sometimes you have to go to a specialist. And for me, that's an easy way to think about it. And I don't believe anything like this exists. I don't believe anything like this exists. A full-blown roadmap on the internet anywhere for how creatives might actually grow a business year out of year and make sure that they're on the right track, right? So that's sort of my way of analogizing it. I don't know if that resonates with you or not, but for me,
absolutely it does. Absolutely,
yeah.
Because when I say it doesn't exist, do you know why I so confidently say it doesn't exist? Because I've spent my entire career building companies from scratch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like my own, and working with, what is it, 6,000, 6,500 now artists and photographers at Art Storefronts that are entrepreneurs and startups themselves. Yep. And it's like if when you've gone through it and you failed your butt off a ton of times and gotten, just gotten burned, and you've wasted tons of time and money, right? You learn the lessons, and and that's where when you're talking about not everybody's problem is the same. They're not even close to the same, and it's like, depending on what path you're on and how early on you are, whether you've validated your art yet or not, whether you have a big enough audience yet or not. All of these things are like different steps in the milestones of an art business, and it's like, when you're at one stage, you either check the box or you don't, and if you don't check the box, then you need to solve that specific problem before you can move on. If you move on and you're doing all these different things, this is where people get into they're working on the wrong thing, and they wonder why they're not getting anywhere. They're like, I don't get it. Like this, I watch this guy, and this guy is doing everything the same that I'm doing, but I'm not getting the results that guy's doing, right? Well, it's like, hey, well, let me tell you what the differences are between you, right? You have a different product, okay? Right? Like, in other words, your subject matter is different, your imagery is different. You as human beings are different. They may be better at social media, and marketing than you. They may be thinking about it 3 times, more than you are every single day. you know, while you're going to sleep well at night, they're thinking, they got ideas, they got a notepad next to their bed, writing down ideas for the next day. Like everybody's not the same. Every
No.
human being is completely different, and you will get different results based on your education, intelligence level, experience, drive, you know, hard work, your mindset, you know, your expectations, and whether it's like your expectations are correct or not. So there's so many little nooks and crannies to this. And that's where, when you're saying it's like, you know, the most all-encompassing solution, if you're trying to build the most all-encompassing solution for building an art business, you got to cover all these different things. And these are all specialties, right? All these little rabbit holes and problems. And that's where, when you were saying like, you know, the ear, nose, and throat, you got to be that good at each one of these areas. And you got to be able to identify what these are. And obviously that's what we've gone into. And it is no joke. It is no joke. But at the end of the day, how many more people are we going to help, Pat?
Oh,
How many more people?
Quite a bit.
Yes, because what do we see as a big theme is that people are working on the wrong problems, and they don't know what their problem really is. You know, they don't know what their problem really is. And so that's step number one, is you got to know what your problem is. And our plan helps you understand and learn what that is. Then once you know what it is, you should only be spending your time on what's going to fix that problem, right? So like, otherwise what you're working on makes no sense. It's not gonna, the trajectory of your business is not gonna go anywhere. You need to work on what's specifically your problem right now, not the guy you're watching down here, you know, as a inspirations problem, right? He's got different problems than you. You got to solve your problem, and you need to know what it is first.
And to add just a bit more color to that, I would say what we have presented here is well, before I even say that, in addition to what you just said, the only other pertinent point is it's about how quickly you can execute through these steps. Because what this map represents is your business, okay? Your art photography creative business is in the best shape possible, such that all you need to focus on is regular and consistent marketing, and the business will grow year after year after year. It's guaranteed. It's not even up for debate. It's guaranteed. And the reason is because you've been through this map and you've been through this sprint. And while this should have been taught in art class, when you took art classes, it should have been taught at photography school, right? It should have been taught in any creative school. It never was. It never was. No. Where it has been taught is all over Silicon Valley. And in every single solitary startup incubator. And if you went to a VC and you got VC's venture capitalists and you got funding for your business, they have their version of this path nuanced for your business. What we have done is taken those concepts and made the path for the art of photography business. That's it. And at the end of this path, okay, which we are going to walk you through the linear steps, you are on to regular marketing, and the business will grow year after year after year. It's that simple. It's not any more difficult for that. So we're going to share, and Nick and I are kind of going to pontificate and articulate what it is. I have the ability to share this map on Facebook. I obviously don't have the ability to share that map on Instagram, and I apologize for that. It's Instagram's limitations. So if you want to pop over to our Facebook page, or if you want to pop over to our YouTube channel so you can see this map, you can do so, but don't worry, I'm going to articulate it, okay? And we're calling it right now the Marketing Assistant Lite, right? This path can be thought of as a marketing assistant that you're bolting into your business, okay? And what we're saying is, you start on this journey. The end of this journey is you are ready to go. Your entire business is set up to grow. You know you have a product the market wants, and you just have to do regular marketing, okay? So the first step in all of this is getting your website live, right? And so step number one in the path, very, very simple, get your website live. Now, we have advocated for years and years and years some initial best practices there. Logo, about me page, media types, pricing, some issues like that. Where we've updated our thinking recently speaks to the evolution that we have in thinking. We study the data, okay? We get to see the ones that are the most successful. Why are they the most successful? What are they doing that other people are not doing? And the next step in the map is website meets best practices, okay? And as you guys are listening to this, for those of you that have websites, if you don't have a website, you need to get a website, okay? Nick, they need to get a website, but not a website. For God's sake, get a website. But if you do have the website, okay, I want you to audit yourself based on how we are articulating what is going on in this box. And we are titling this Website Best Practices. And again, this is taken from data of those that are selling incredibly well. And this is just maths. There is zero room for emotion in this whatsoever. Nick, we are saying that the best e-commerce operators and website operators in this space all understand these rules and do not break these rules. And I'm talking about the ones that are truly maximizing their business. You might be able to find some people that are making over $500,000 a year, and they might not be doing some of these things. And that's okay for them because they've reached that level. But guess what? If they did some of this stuff, the business would grow faster in our estimation. Okay, it just would. So number one, we are advocating in terms of website best practices. Every website needs to have price points under $100. Every website needs to have price points from $100 to $1,000, and every website needs to have price points above $1,000. Okay, and this is like a little bit of a sliding scale, right? This is a baseline judgment on why you need these price points. If you're someone that's selling at $5,700 and $10,000, the argument still works. You need to have a price point over $50,000. Okay, and the reason is the socioeconomic bell curve. Okay, every Art Storefronts follower on Instagram right now, on Facebook, that are watching in our Facebook group, that are watching on Twitter. You fall into the socioeconomic bell curve. We all do. On one end of the scale, the low net worth individuals, right? They don't have a lot of money. They can't purchase anything, but they are still valuable human beings and awesome people. You have lower middle class, upper middle class, and the high net worth individuals. That is the socioeconomic bell curve that every single solitary business has followers, has potential customers in it. So if you don't have a price point that speaks to all of those people, you will never see the full ROI of your marketing endeavors and abilities. You'll never see it because you don't have a price point for everyone on there. And if you're missing, okay, if you're missing and you can't sell to any of the people that are lower on the socioeconomic bell curve, you do not get a beachhead into those people's homes with your market, with your products, your services, and you're not top of mind to those folks. And guess what? The socioeconomic bell curve is not a fixed entity. Okay, there are people that slide up it and down it, and that'll be the case for your entire life as you grow this business year after year after year after year. So the pricing is critical. And oh, by the way, there are some people in your ecosystem that for them, buying something for $50,000 for most people is like buying something for $500. Okay, they don't care. It's not the same for them. You know, when I was a kid, and Microsoft was exploding in the stock exchange for the very first time. Bill Gates became the richest man in the world. Everyone was saying the analogy, if I sat on Nick's couch and a quarter fell out of my pocket, in order for that same thing to happen for Bill Gates, the quarter would be worth $387,000, right? that was the line back then. And the point is, the pricing is relevant. I know it scares you in your mind, and you're like, what are you talking about? Put something for $50,000 in my store. And I'm only recommending that if you're selling higher ticket items, but have something for 5 to 7 or 10, way more than you think. There are people that will buy it because they do not have the same socioeconomic outlook that you do. And no one ever tells anybody that, right? No one ever tells anybody that. There's additional reasons too.
I think another like way of thinking about it too, guys, is that if you have 100 emails on your list, I'm just using that, right? You obviously need to have way more than that. But if you have 100 emails on your list, you could break that into percentages of these of these socioeconomic brackets that Patrick is talking about. So like there's probably only 3 to 5 people on there that are in that upper bracket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a big tranche that is below that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's 10 or 15 that are in that 1,000 price point, you know, $500 to 1,000 price point bracket. That's it out of the 100. The rest are going to be very, lower budget people. And so when you're looking at your list, people tend to think like, oh, hey, I've only sold, higher price points. My whole list, like who would join my list unless they were one of those people, or who would follow me on social media unless they could afford my work? Well, let me break it to you. It's, you got all these people on there, and we're not saying this as a guess. We have proven this. Okay, with people selling high price points. And then, like I'm thinking of somebody in particular where we were trying to get him to like, hey, you've got to offer some merch and do it in a very high class way. And so he launched calendars. Okay. And he sold $12,000 of calendars, and he was floored. These really nice art calendars that we have automated fulfillment for, at Art Storefronts, but he launched them and he just couldn't believe it. He's like, dude, I sold $12,000. Like I made
He was
all
breaking the
this extra
rules.
money.
He was breaking the
Yeah.
rules.
And he didn't offer anything else on the merch. Now he's looking at everything, right? Because he's like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that those people were there. But for years, Pat, for years, he was offering nothing to the vast majority of people on his email list and in his social following. And so he simply released the lower priced item in a very classy, elegant, expensive sort of way for that item. Correct. And he crushed it. Crushed it. It was amazing.
Yep. And as a final, like, you know, and Deb Herbert was asking, so should I put it on a dedicated page? It doesn't matter if you put it on a dedicated page or not. This is just a mathematical formula. You have to have the price points for all of these people. Okay. And you know, especially on the high end of things, right? Like when we talk about the very, very high end of things, you know, when you go to a car dealership and in the middle of the car dealership is the glass box, right? Where you have to go in and talk to the annoying finance person that tells you what your stupid payment's going to be, and you're in there for 4 hours, and all you want to do is just drive out with the damn car. Anyway, what do they have in the glass box? Okay, and it doesn't matter if you're a Toyota dealership or Mercedes dealership. They have the 6-figure crazy car. Okay, and it is whatever it is. It's the Mercedes Brabus or the Mercedes M63 2-door convertible SLR, whatever the Toyota TRD, whatever it is, and those cars are in there for a reason, okay? And yes, they're the nicest cars and they're the most expensive purchases, but do you know what else they do? There is a psychological phenomenon called price anchoring. And what we do is human beings, is we are attempting to validate why we are making a purchase at this dealership, right? And why the purchase that we're making is okay. And if we're buying the most expensive thing in the dealership, all of our common sense says, why am I buying the most expensive thing in a dealership? I can't afford the most expensive thing in a dealership. I'm frugal. I would never spend this much money. So when you see that car in there for $120,000, you anchor onto that. And then you realize the car that you're buying at $80,000, $70,000, $60,000, $50,000 is actually a good deal. And so too does this happen in your art store. There's this piece in there for $25,000. And you're like, whoa, that thing's beautiful. It's huge. I love it. It's incredible. But now it makes me feel pretty good about that purchase I'm making for $5,000, right? So when we say this is just a formula and it's just maths, these are just truths that have operated in retail, whether online or off, for years and years and years. And yet everyone breaks them. Everyone breaks them because they think somehow art is special or different or something else. So that's on the price point. So we can get more on that later. The next is you need to have a combination of open editions, limited editions, and originals. Okay. And obviously there's some ways you have to get creative on this in terms of photography. It's a little bit more straightforward in terms of paintings, right? Because there is an original, right? But it is very easy to do both. And there are a whole number of reasons, okay, why this works. One, it gives you a spread of price points. Two, there's additional scarcity on the limited editions. There's additional scarcity on the originals, and it gives a range of options that how many artists and photographers are breaking this don't have any of either? And then how many of the snobby ones at the top just have the limited editions and no open editions, right? And one of the things that infuriates me so hard that I honestly, I lose sleep over this at night. I can't have open editions. If I sell a bunch of open editions, the limited editions and the original holders will think it's going to cheapen the work, right? No! All it does is make the holder of the limited edition or the original even more valuable because there's all of these prints in which they own the original. Who's giving this advice? People that have never sold anything, or galleries. That's you. Ridiculous. You got any color on that one?
Yeah, no, you're totally right, and it's just insane. And there's a question on Facebook from Sherry. She said, "Does merchandise count as having something under $100, or should it be original artwork?" No, it does not need to be your original artwork. Your original artwork should be like your highest priced item, right? It's other items like merchandise that allows you to get under that $100.
The merchandise is the easiest way to get there.
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
Step number one, you have to obey the pricing rules. Okay. If you're in some sort of situation and you're not partnered with us, or you don't have merch, you're not going to do that, then technically you could do it with smaller size works or cheap paper prints or something along those lines. So step one is you need to have it. But where this tailors right into merchandise is merchandise just works so well on a number of different fronts. Okay. One, it enables you to hit all these price points. Okay. Two, not everybody is ready to buy wall art all the time. I'm sorry to tell you this. It's a fact. Not everybody is ready to buy wall art all the time.
I go even further, Pat. Rather than not everybody is ready, it's like most people aren't.
Yeah,
That's a better way of saying it, right?
yeah.
Like most people aren't in the market for wall art right now on your list.
Yes.
Again, I'll go back. I asked you this question like a month ago, right? When we were talking, working through a lot of this with our team. And it was out of 100 people on a given artist list, 100 people, how many of that 100 actually need a piece of art right now?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. So you're sitting there and you're emailing, bam, bam, bam. You're putting things out on social media, and everything is about buying art, buying art, buying art. But it's like, and you're sitting here and you're like, I've got all these followers and I've got this email list, and it's like, dude, there's 2 or 3 people that are even in the market for that right now, maybe, right? The rest don't have open wall space, or they don't need it. Oftentimes, with the marketing that we teach, we're getting people to buy things, to buy your art when like they don't have a wall. They're like finding a wall space or creating one, take something off the wall because they fall in love with you and your art. They get an emotional connection, and that works. But the reality is, you got to understand that. Like really, like let that sink in. You're marketing something constantly, and very few people actually are in the market for it. But that's where the merchandise items change everything, because they're impulse items, they're gift items, right? And so somebody could literally buy it the second you offer it. Like you market it, they see it, they like it, they're like, I'm buying it right now. And they literally check out on the spot, and you get a sale, right? And so you're giving yourself a way to have 100 out of 100 people on your email list, right, in the market for that item, rather than 3. That's a big deal. These are big numbers. These are big mistakes that artists make, and they're like, I don't know why the business isn't moving and all this stuff. And it's like, it really comes down to math and these physics. It's like you're not thinking about it right. You don't realize that that's actually what's going on. There's nothing wrong potentially with your email list. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that the numbers are not in your favor, right? Especially when you're smaller and you're starting out and you just don't have a big audience yet.
You know where this is played out in real time, okay? And right in front of my eyes recently is, look, this guy's got a little bit of a political context to him, and so I don't worry about the political context. Just look at what this guy's doing. It's the My Pillow guy, okay? And the reason I think this guy's hilarious is because somebody Colton dressed up as him for Halloween, and it was the funniest thing you've ever seen. That guy started out selling pillows, right? And do you know what he realized? Not everybody needs a pillow all the time. And then what did he start selling? Sheets. And then he started selling towels. And now he's selling slippers. And he's adding all of these various different items into his store. And his bread and butter is still the pillows. He still wants to sell the pillows. But now he's got a bunch of items to sell to everyone else that doesn't need pillows in that moment. And what his mental thinking is, I need to get the highest ROI out of my marketing endeavors and activities as possible. How am I going to do that? It's very hard to do that with a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
With one product.
I feel like every business owner eventually gets to that point, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so this is the logic.
Yeah. My point in this is just maths. These are just rules.
Yes.
These are just rules that all of these other successful entrepreneurs and all these other industries already know, and no one has explained it clearly and succinctly to artists and photographers. That's what excites me about it. In addition to that, you guys, when you understand you're in this business for life, you are going to be creating for life. You can't turn your switch off. You're going to be selling for life, well into retirement and beyond. You play the long game, okay? And when you play the long game, you realize there is nothing more effective that you can do than get somebody who is not ready to buy wall art right now a product in their hand of your work. Because every day that they look at that product, they're going to be reminded of you, okay? That product goes places that your emails can't. That product goes places that your Facebook and Instagram posts can't. That goes places that ads can't. It is with them all the time. And guess what happens? They move out of their mother's basement, or they buy a vacation home, or they move out to the country. And because that piece of merch was sold and they're thinking about you, when that wall space opens up, guess who's top of mind? Guess who's top of mind, right? And the one gentleman we were talking about with the calendar, it's like, you just went from 200 homes in town to 3,000 homes in town. You're on the walls in 3,000 homes in town. Do you know how powerful that is? Do you have any idea how powerful that is? So when you don't have this activated, what we're saying is you lack the ability to get the highest ROI out of the marketing spend that you have this year, next year, the next 5 years, the next decade, the next 2 decades. It's that simple. It's that simple. And it's a profound statement.
Yeah, and then you see it in the context of the fact that Valentine's Day is coming up here, but the marketing is kind of baked by now. One of the biggest art selling holidays of the year. Can't miss it. You can't miss these, right? Then we
Yep.
have 3 big art selling holidays in the next 30 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the next 30 days, three more, right? Then after that, you've got Mother's Day. But like, you've got these different things. You need things to promote, right? These things are almost back to back, and you can't miss these things. And you've got your entire list of people that you're going to market to on each one of these. Are you giving yourself the maximum opportunity to make sales on these different, big art selling days? And they're all here. It's like, if you had Valentine's Day and you didn't have a good enough Valentine's Day, like, check yourself on all of these things and make sure that you're appealing to the widest audience possible, and make sure that on these next 3 big art selling days over the next 30 days that you are properly set up and that you're going to take advantage of all of them. Because if you keep letting these things pass you by, like, this is always, it's like such a big learning lesson, Pat. It's like, they're gone.
Can't get those days back. They don't come back.
You can't get those days back. And if you want to know, guys, what the best selling artists that we know that are on our platform, right, selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of art a year, of products a year, I should say, right, with their images on them, they don't miss any of these.
No.
Okay? They don't miss any of these. Do you know who's not making money? The ones who keep missing these. Valentine's Day, gone. Didn't make any sales. Gone. Didn't do anything. Didn't do any marketing. Wasn't prepared. Doesn't have an audience. Business going nowhere. Next 3 big art selling holidays are in the next 30 days, guys. You can be making sales on these. You have to be doing that.
Yep. And so the merch pivots into the need to have turned on order bumps and one-click upsells. Now, these are not the terms that I came up with or Nick came up with. These are the terms the interwebs came up with, and we are stuck with them, and they are damn confusing. So let me just explain them succinctly, okay? I come to your website. I add something to my shopping cart. Before I go to the final checkout page, I am presented with an offer. Hey, Patrick, do you want to add such and such to your order for an additional $40, $50, $60, $70, $100, $500? And you can click one button. It's added to your shopping cart, and you check out. Okay, so that is the one-click upsell or the order bump. I don't even know which one's which. I always get confused. After you check out, okay, after you check out, you put in your credit card details. Boom, you're redirected to a confirmation page, and the confirmation page says, "Thank you so much for your order. I can't wait to ship it to you. Thanks for doing business." All of that. By the way, do you want to add this to your order for another 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 bucks, whatever it is? And they can click one button and add that to their order. It's two places where you're inserting an additional offer. And this is so fundamental and important to growing a business. This is so fundamental and important to having a website set up correctly. Unless you think, if that sounded confusing to you, when was the last time you were in a grocery store, or you were in an electronics store, or you were in the hardware store, and whilst you were waiting in line, you're snaked through these rows of tchotchke? You're at the hardware store and they're trying to sell you cell phone cords and fly swatters and duct tape and
Candy,
ice cream and cookies and beef jerky and all these things you didn't know you needed. And it essentially, all it is an opportunity to increase your AOV. What is AOV now?
Average order value.
Average order value. These things take 2 seconds to turn on. And oh, by the way, it's why merch is so important, because merch works so fundamentally incredibly. And what ends up happening is 1,000 shoppers come through that hardware store on a Saturday. Out of the 1,000, 200 end up availing themselves of one of these various different things. And instead of each shopper being worth $10 on average, each shopper is worth $15.60. And well, Patrick, that's not that much money. Okay, now do 1,000 a day, 365 days a year for the next 10 years, and tell me what that number is. It's fundamentally significant to a business. You have to have it. This is, again, an example of not something that is new. Okay, it's just not something that's been articulated to artists and photographers. It's just not, right? So very, very important. Next, okay, you have to take commissions as an artist or a photographer. Now, when I say take commissions, you don't need to take them, like actually do them. You need to be open to the solicitation of them, okay? And the reason for this is another fundamental. The reason is, as artists, as photographers, throughout the course of your career, you're going to inevitably end up trying different subject materials. Okay. It's what we formally call pivoting, trying out a new style. And the mindset here is you're always looking for a style of art that you can release that significantly outperforms the style of art that you're currently creating. Okay. And this is something that our most successful artists they have it baked into their DNA and they do it all the time. They're constantly trying new things because they're looking for that new, latest, and greatest thing. So when you open yourself up for commissions, there's a whole bunch of people that love what you do, that love the style that you have. But for whatever reason, what you've created is not for them. So when you open yourself up for commissions, you get to hear about what it is that they actually want and are ready to pay money for. And this information is so insanely valuable. I can't even begin to tell you, because with this intel at your fingertips, you might just find your next style. You might just find your next biggest idea, right? In addition to giving you an additional way to monetize the marketing you are doing. Hey, Nick, I loved that piece. I love some of the pieces that you're doing, but none of it's working for me. But you know what? I love parrots. And I need some parrots in my bathroom. And I think if you painted parrots in your style, it would be phenomenal. And then you go and you paint the parrots. And then the next thing you know, shoot, let me know if my audio whacked out. Can you hear me? Okay, you can still hear me?
Now.
Yeah.
It was just cutting out for a second.
I know, sometimes I get calls. So you create the parrots, Nick. You would have never created parrots. You don't like parrots, but you created the parrots. And I hung them in my bathroom. And I had this great like little decor in there, like beachy, tropical. And you share it on your social media. And then the next thing you know, 50 people send you a message. What were those parrots? What were those parrots that you created? Can you tell me more about the parrots? Whatever it might be, you have to keep yourself open to those opportunities of discovery. And stated another way, if somebody that's in the audience raising their hand with their cash above their hand, I need art, I need art, I need art. Would you take it? Would you take it? It's a pretty good place to start. It's a pretty good place to start. So that's on the commissions. That's on the commissions. The final, okay? The final, and this is the final from website best practices. You have to have samples on hand for everything that you're selling. You have to have samples on hand for everything that you are selling. If you don't have a sample on hand for everything that you are selling, you are breaking every rule there is imaginable. If you offer a fine art paper print, you need to have a fine art paper print. If you offer a canvas print, you need to have a canvas print. If you offer metal, so too with acrylic, so too with wood. And guess what? You need to have these even if you're not selling them. Because what do your buyers not know? The damn differences between any of these media types. And what are the buyers, your potential buyers, relying upon you to be? The subject matter expert, Nick. The subject matter expert.
Exactly. It's like one of the biggest misses that's happened over the last like 10 or 20 years since like e-commerce has become, a big thing. And it's like nobody ever shows their product, right? I got coasters right here, right?
Yep.
Nobody ever shows their product. They've got their website and they have their static image and they have a drop-down menu that's like canvas or metal, right? Or paper, fine art paper, right? Hana Mule fine art paper or whatever. Nobody cares.
What is that? I don't know what that is. What the hell is
they
that?
don't even know. Nobody cares, right? And it's like, show them the product. You don't even show the finished product to a customer. Like that's like the vast majority of art websites. They literally don't even show like the front, sides, and back. Like you don't even know what it is. They go on social media. They don't even show like, oh, here is the item. It's called merchandising, right? Here's the item, guys. I'm running a special on these right now. Okay, these coasters, they come in sets of 4, right? They're amazing. They're $59 a set, and here's how thick they are. They're great. They got really nice cork backing, which makes them not slide even if they're wet. Things like that. Look at Patrick showing the metal prints front and back. Nobody shows the products. No, it's incredible.
No. Unless you think, oh, I can't do that. I'm just getting started. It's too expensive. Here's all 5 media types. You know what this costs? $170. $170, and I'm done. Done. And guess what? You know what size these all? They're US paper size, a little bit different based on the image, right? And do you know what I can do with this, Nick? I can put this in my car. If I just sold a piece and I'm going to your house to hang it, I'm going to walk in with all 5 of these just in the off chance that you ask about metal, or you ask about acrylic, or you ask about wood. Nick, You never seen wood? How cool is this? And I hand it to you. And then I show you that I'm the subject matter expert. And then guess what? You didn't know this, but you don't even like wood. Nick doesn't even like wood. He doesn't even want to offer it. But guess what? I like wood because my neighbor had it. Okay. And I've got to keep up with the Joneses. And so I'm going to say, I got to have some of these wood prints too. And they're perfect for my lake house vibe. And you're like, oh yeah, I've got wood. Wood's awesome. Check this out. The detail's amazing. If you're interested in it, we can do. I can take this with me anywhere. Okay. And the same goes for the merch. If you're selling it, you got to have it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
This is a detailed feature that we have on Art Storefronts that we don't talk about enough, but we have merchandising videos that we made. So we took all of the prints and the merchandise, okay? Every single item, canvas prints, metal prints, mugs, just go down the list, right? And got a professional videographer and made amazing videos of these product videos so that like what we're doing here when we're showing it off, we have that in a professional studio, and they're on every artist website automatically. So that way, when somebody comes to your website, you don't even know, right? It needs to be like a robot working for you 24/7, so that when they're looking at a metal media type, we want merchandising to happen on the spot, because we know that consumers don't even have a clue what metal is. They don't even know. They don't even know. And trust me, start asking them. They'll be like, yeah, I think I've seen it before. It's like, do they know exactly what it is? No. How many people will buy something that they don't know exactly what it is, especially when it's several $100s or more? No, like almost nobody,
Yep.
And so if you don't have these, like, you should have videos of every single one of your media types, right? We make it easy for our customers to have it, but like, that's why we have that. It's because like you've painstakingly done the marketing to get that person on your site, looking at your image that they like, that they might buy. Like, you need everything that you can to get them over the finish line, right?
Correct.
And if they don't know what every single item that you have is and what it looks like, the odds of them buying it is very low.
Very low. Okay, we're gonna keep moving. So, 1, you have a website. The website is live. It takes a credit card, right? Your stuff is up. Okay. 2, your website meets best practices as we articulated them. Guess what? Until these 2 things are finished, that's all you're working on. That's it. You're not doing anything else, right? You need to get these things done. The next, okay, is do your social profiles meet best practices, okay? And it is our argument that as artists and photographers in today's day and age, your Instagram profile, and to a lesser extent your Facebook profile, but still very important, need to meet a minimum credibility bar. Because here's what happens. You go and you get somebody's attention through your marketing efforts. Somebody recommends you to a friend. Instantaneously, do you know what that potential buyer is going to do? They're going to your social profiles to check you out. It is the credit check, okay, of the art and photography world. No different than if you saw some bigwig who was spouting off about this and that, you go and look them up on LinkedIn. No different than a buyer on the journey hears about some incredible knife and goes and reads the reviews on Amazon. There are steps in the buying process that are fundamental to that final sale, okay? And if you don't meet the credibility bar, the minimum credibility bar, you are losing some portion of that sale, because what the buyer is saying is, this person's not legit. They don't understand the game. They have nothing on their social profile. It's not up to design specs. The posts are not the right type of posts. There's hardly any posting at all, and it kills your deals. It kills your deals.
Yeah.
And Nick and I,
no one wants to partner with you. No one wants to do anything. You're trying to do lead generation and different things like that. No one wants to do anything with you because you don't look like a real art business.
Unless you think this is like something that applies to like regular consumer artists. Nick and I have had the benefit of doing this for a long time. If you've been doing this for a long time, you read all the reports that come out in this industry. In this industry, there are 2 reports that come out all the time. There is the Art Basel UBS Global Marketing Report, and then there's another one from an insurer out of London called the Hiscox Report. These 2 outfits survey the high net worth individuals that everybody wants to sell to. Read the people that are buying $50,000 works and above. Every year over the last 7, they survey all these high net worth buyers, right? Every year over the last 7, we've just watched time after time after time after time after time. All of those people surveying say Instagram and Facebook made a major impact of their buying decision. Major impact in their buying decision. It's happening at the top of the tree. It's happening at the bottom of the tree. So you need to get these social profiles updated. You need to have them looking best practices. You need to have a minimum amount of followers, what we call the minimum credibility barrier. And then you need to have posts that look like you're active and you're engaged in the right type of posts. Once that's done, we move up to the next stage in our map. Okay. The next stage in our map is, does your business have what we call in the startup world MVP? Okay. MVP stands for minimum viable traction. Okay. Now we have a loose value here because it needs a value. Have you made $1,000 in total sales? And it's best to ask yourself, have you made $1,000 in total sales, not over the course of your art selling life, in the last year? In the last year. If you've made $1,000 in total sales in the last year, it stands to reason you likely have a product the market wants. Okay. If you have a product that the market wants, you're on to regular marketing. Your job at this point is just regular marketing, and the business should grow year after year after year. Now, that's a very simplistic definition of MVP. Okay. And there's a ton of nuance to it, but we've already gone 37 minutes, and we'll cover these again in later detail. Okay. Let's assume you don't have MVP. You don't have that $1,000 in sales. The next question you have to ask yourself, you can see the map says, no, we do not have MVP. Do you have MVA? Nick, what is MVA?
Minimum viable audience.
Minimum viable audience. We're attempting to see whether or not what you've created and are attempting to sell will sell. Okay. And without it getting in front of enough eyeballs, you'll never know. You'll never know, right? And so we need to ensure that you meet the minimum audience gap, the minimum viable audience, okay, in order to figure out whether or not you have traction. And so we loosely define this as 250 people on an email list and 250 people on a social platform. We are acutely aware of how difficult it is to set numbers and make them be one size fits all. There's some people that have 250 people on an email list. There's some people that have 10,000 people on an email list that are really not interested in their person's art at all. They're following them for a different reason. So it's not dead to rights, right? But you need to have a minimum size audience on an email list, and you need to have a minimum size audience on the social media platform. You could also argue, if you're someone that is doing a ton of shows, you don't need to have either of those. The shows will tell you. Right? The shows can offer a minimum viable audience. But guess what? One show ain't going to do it. It's probably at least 5 to 7, right? That will tell you. Once you have the minimum viable audience, okay, you go instantaneously into a 30-day rapid test. And this 30-day rapid test is a playbook that we have that is laser focused on selling activities. And are we just selling wall art in these, Nick?
Nope.
What are we doing?
We're hitting all the price points. We're throwing the book at it. We're throwing the book at it to see if you really have traction, if you really have a product that can sell, because this is where most artists, like they spend years of their life, and like you look at their art, and it's not that their art is bad, but the subject matter is a market size that's like the size of a pea, you know? And you're like, you're a great artist. You're super talented. Like everything's great there. But do you realize your market size is probably like 1,000 people out there, maybe?
Yep.
You know, and like, how much time and money and effort you're gonna have to put in to find all of those people sprinkled across the globe, you know? Like, why don't you experiment with stuff that has a much broader market size? But we've got to throw the book at it to see if you have traction.
Correct. And so we're gonna obviously have to cover this in depth a whole bunch of other times later. So okay, let's say we completed the 30-day test. We're looking for that minimum viable traction. So we ran a 30-day test. Did we sell $1,000 worth of art? If the answer to that question is no, time to go create some new art, right? Essentially, time to pivot, time to try some new subject material, and then we go right back to the test again, right? We go right back to the test, and this is just a repeatable formula until you get there. If you don't have the minimum viable audience, right? If you don't have enough people on your email list and social, or you're not doing shows, well, guess what? Then we have a different problem to solve. We have to get you the minimum viable audience. And we have a way that we teach you through this. We work on giveaways. We have some charity partnership marketing techniques and tactics that we've developed. We encourage in-person shows. We need to get more people on your email list. And I can go into the details 1,000 different ways. But that's the plan right there from start to finish. And I believe there are a whole bunch of artists and photographers out there that have not gone through this step by step. and they're out there working on something, just spinning their wheels, going, oh my gosh, I'll never make it. And it's because you don't have a plan. You don't know where you are on this plan. You need to self-select, put yourself on the plan, and execute it. And guess what? Every successful business does this. This is just how it goes. That's just how it goes.
Exactly. Well said. I love it.
So we're gonna have to do a ton more articulation on this in the days and weeks and months ahead. One of the exciting things that we've done as a business at Art Storefronts is we've launched. We don't usually ever talk about this, but we've launched an in-house marketing agency, and the in-house marketing agency services just our customers. And before, we had a bunch of awesome products in the store that you can do, right? And what we were telling our customers essentially to do is, you don't have a map, you never learned this map. Figure out where you are on the map and pick the service that's best for you, right? Now, we've bundled all of them into just one product. It's this. And you sign up and you say, I want the service. And then we audit everything that you have going on. We audit the business. We audit the social media. We make you be dead honest about your sales. We look at your site and we say, here's where you are on the map. This is what we're going to work on this month. And then we're going to get to the next step. And then we're going to work on that month. And then the next and the next and the next. And you get stepped through this map until you come out on the very end, in which your only job is to continue marketing, and the business should grow year after year after year after year. And that's the ballgame. That's the ballgame.
Yep.
It's the first dead to rights business plan, step by step, to grow an art business, to get an art business to the point where all of the odds are in your favor to grow, legitimately grow.
Yep. And where are most art businesses? And I would say probably 90% or more of the people that are watching this right now.
Correct.
They don't have traction.
Yep.
They don't have minimum viable traction. And that's why your business, it feels like you're pushing this cart up a hill, it's like, it's just, everything is uphill. I can't get anything to happen, and what you want to have, I think the better words are, it's a tugboat versus a smooth sailor, right?
Yes.
You want to go from being a tugboat to becoming a smooth sailor. And you do that by, but through this process of going through this path, and ultimately ending up with better traction, right? And so once you have traction for your art, that doesn't mean that every business is going to be exactly the same, right? There's a ceiling. This is a really important point, you guys. There is a ceiling on the subject matter you are selling right now. And if I could show that to you, it's obviously like an estimation, but what I mean is the subject matter that you have has a market size to it. Market size meaning there are, is it 5 people, 5,000 people, 5 million people who are actually interested and have an emotional connection to the subject matter that you are either shooting or painting, right? That's your market size. There's also competition within there and anything like that, but that's your ceiling.
Yep.
Your business will only sell as much if you have traction as that subject matter will allow. Okay. And that's where everybody goes in a different direction. Every artist will have different outcomes depending on that. And so over time, you want to get deeper and deeper traction by experimenting and things like that. But this plan will help, really guide you along in that process so that you can continually make incremental steps to have a more successful art business.
Yep. And I think we wrap it up and leave it there and say it's early days. You're going to see us pounding this continually. I saw a comment on Instagram. Yes, we have a podcast. Yes, it's everywhere you find podcasts. Yes, it's called the Art Marketing Podcast. And it's awesome. We're proud of it.
Yeah, and get on our email list too, because I mentioned earlier, their Valentine's Day, it's kind of already baked. You know what I mean? You could do some last minute marketing right now. But look, it's 4 days away, right? But in the next 30 days after, there are 3 big art selling holidays. 3. You can't miss them. You can't keep missing these things, right? Because when they're gone, right, you can't get those days back. They're gone. Right. And demand is pulled out of the market because every smart artist and photographer out there is taking full advantage of them. These are in our marketing plan. If you request a demo, which you can do if you go to our website, artstorefronts.com, talk to our outreach team and they'll tell you more about it and give you more guidance. But look, if you're taking your business seriously, you got to stop missing these things. You got to be set up and equipped properly with a proper art gallery website. right? That has the features and functionality that are designed to sell art. Everything else you're doing is you're wasting your time, right? You've got to make sure you have a proper art gallery website, and then you've got to have the right marketing plan. So you're solving your marketing problem, and you can't keep missing these big art selling days. It's just a huge deal, right? You want to do what the most successful artists and photographers are doing. Stop missing these things. If you're on our email list, you will see that we're talking about them constantly, right? I mean, I know we just sent out an email, I think this morning, that the next one after Valentine's Day, it's like 10 days away, Pat. Or like, it's like 7 to 10 days away. It's right after, right?
Yep.
And so these things keep happening. Next 30 days, there's 3. Hit them all. Hit them all. And if you do that all year long, you're going to keep, incrementally building your business, making steps in a positive direction. And that's the key.
I like it. We got a plan. Right. We got a plan.
We've got a plan, and there's no doubt.
All right. Thanks for the time,
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And as always, have a great day.